Construction has finally begun in Mexico City on the most expensive US embassy in the world. Canada accuses the US of preferring to weaken Canada and Mexico ahead of advancing NAFTA talks, and South Africa has declared its Day Zero drought a national disaster. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Let's start with today's information. The United States government began building a wall in Mexico this week, but not on the border. On Tuesday, authorities from both countries picked up shovels to break ground and laid the first stone for the new U.S. Embassy, a $943 million project in Mexico City's Nuevo Polanco district. The new embassy is touted to be one of the most expensive American embassies in the world and is expected to be completed by 2022, when the U.S. will leave its current building on the Mexican capital's Gran Paseo de la Reforma Boulevard. U.S. Ambassador Roberto Jacobson and Mexico City Mayor Miguel Angel Mancera participated in the ceremonial groundbreaking at the 8.5-acre site in western Mexico City. She said the U.S. were breaking ground to generate an atmosphere that will foster bilateral relations. Meanwhile, Mexican Interior Secretary Alfonso Navarrete Prida echoed that sentiment, saying that the new embassy represented a bridge of friendship. Asked by a reporter if he thought they were laying the first stone for an embassy or a wall, Carlos Sada allowed that it was symbolic. It highlights what's an extremely intense, complex relationship. In other news, Canada and the United States exchanged criticism on Tuesday for negotiations to modernize the North American Free Trade Agreement, reflecting growing tensions in a process that doesn't seem aimed at meeting the deadline to reach an understanding. The head of the delegation of Canada said that the United States prefers to weaken Canada and Mexico before making sure that the three members of the pact can benefit. A few minutes earlier, the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer had said in Washington that the talks with Mexico on NAFTA were going well, but he didn't mention Canada. Steve Verhoyle contradicted that statement, saying that so far the talks had made little progress on important issues and complained about the lack of flexibility of the US negotiators. His comments are the most pessimistic that have been made public by a Canadian official involved in the negotiations so far, and reflect the enormous challenge facing negotiators seeking to modernize the $1.2 trillion trade agreement by the beginning of April. Verhoyle said that a demand from Washington to cut the amount of government procurement contracts to Canadian and Mexican companies is the worst offer ever made by the United States in any commercial negotiation. Moving on. South Africa's government has declared the drought, which has seen Cape Town hurtling towards Day Zero, a national disaster. The African National Congress made the announcement after reassessing the magnitude and severity of the 3-year drought. It has badly affected 3 of the country's 9 provinces. The decision to declare a national disaster means the Central will now take responsibility for relief efforts. The Cooperative Governance Minister, Des Van Rooyen, said last week more than 70 million rand, or $5.8 million, had been put aside to tackle the crisis. The decision came as Cape Town announced its water-saving measures, which require each citizen to now use less than 50 litres a day, and had successfully pushed back Day Zero to the 4th of June. On Day Zero, all taps will be turned off in the city and citizens will have to collect water from rationed and armed checkpoints. As reported by Mexico News Network just a matter of weeks ago, that date that Cape Town's taps were predicted to run dry was the 12th of April. It's been no easy task for Cape Town's residents. 2 weeks ago, the daily usage limit was slashed from 87 litres to 50 litres per citizen. That provides just enough water for a very short shower and 1 flush of the toilet a day, when other needs, including just 1 load of the washing machine a week, are taken into account. Tourists visiting Cape Town have also been told to limit showers to 90 seconds, flush the toilet as little as possible, and swim in the sea rather than in pools. And finally, let's turn to the markets. The Mexican peso decreased 0.31% to 18.52 from 18.58 in the previous trading session. On the other hand, the IPC Mexico increased 0.99% to 48,401 from 47,927 in the previous trading session. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.
Síguenos en nuestras redes sociales. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Solo por México News Network Televisión.